Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hotline League episode 92. I know I throw my hands up, people get excited, expecting me to do something dramatic, and then we just start the show like normal. Again, this is episode 92 of Hotline League. Groups have been drawn. We're going to talk about that and so much more in this episode, but first, I want to shout out to our sponsors. First off, we have Alienware, and we also have Movement, and we have a third sponsor joining us for this special episode, and they're going to be a mystery until we get into that in a little bit. But regardless, I'm joined by my constant co-host today, Mark Zimmerman. Mark, how's it going?
Pretty good. It was a pretty uneventful week between last week and this week. The only exciting thing was during the show last week, I got confirmed to be doing the Twitch Rivals TFT show match. So I'm excited to have to head down after this show. I'm going to drive 2 hours to San Diego for a rehearsal tomorrow. So I'm loading up on some energy drinks stuff to make sure I make it there in one piece. Other than that, we did the writer's room, a shorter one.
Yes. We should say, by the way, make sure, Twitch chat, if you can help me make sure that audio levels are fine. I have some people turned down. Mark is still loud? Okay, I'm going to turn it down. But yes, we did do the writer's room. We progressed a little bit more on the show that we're working on, which won't come out until after Worlds, but I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Me too.
Based off last week. I was in Mexico for the past week, which was sick. I don't know if you saw any of my Instagram stories, Mark. Did you?
I don't watch your stories. I like your pictures. I saw you drinking something. I assume it had tequila in it, else why are you in Mexico?
It was great. I had a really great time. Kelby and I were down there together. I swam in a cenote.
A what?
It's like there are these sinkholes that are filled with water, like natural fresh water, and they're beautiful. You can look it up, Cenote.
I'm not going to Google
They're
it.
on Reddit all the time. I wasn't talking to you. And they're just absolutely beautiful. I had an amazing time.
Are they actually sinkholes? Because sinkholes are one of those they're like brain aneurysms. You know, they're just slightly terrifying you at all points of your life.
No. Well, it's not. I don't think it's the sinkhole that you think it is. Either way.
Okay, so it's not like a sinkhole opened up and ate my house. Sinkhole.
No. It's like a sinkhole opened up hundreds of years ago, and now it's filled with beautiful water and little fish. I don't know. It was great. Twitch chat can explain. Actually, they probably can't. Whatever. Either way, so that was really fun. I am going to TwitchCon as well, and Mark and I are going to do something at the Alienware booth. We're not sure what yet on Friday, but also I'm going to be competing in the TFT tournament in the open bracket, and I'm hoping I make it into the main event so that Mark, is your caster announced yet? Your co-caster?
I think it's Kobe. I
know it's Kobe. I just didn't know if I was allowed to say it.
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
I haven't heard officially whether or not we're supposed to talk about it or not. So
yes. Well, I want Kobe and Mark to be able to cast my TFT match. So if we get up there, it'll be great. The problem is they're releasing a new patch tomorrow. So I was playing on PB today trying to get that figured out.
Is it the new patch? Oh, shoot.
Yes. So there's the new item.
Yeah, the gloves.
Yes.
Gonna have to watch a lot of streams tomorrow.
And Kaisa.
What people are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I already know about Kaisa.
Yeah.
I feel like she's just like an obvious include in Rangers and stuff like that. You know, over like Vayne and whatnot.
Yes.
And probably in Assassins, but how the gloves affect the meta is, I think, a lot more like, I need to see what people are doing with this shit.
Yeah. No, it's for sure interesting. Anyway, so we've got all that going on. And then LPL, Brodin and I are hoping to get the first episode of our LPL doc out this week. It was supposed to come out last week, but we've had some delays. And yeah, things are going pretty well. But I guess, obviously, the big stuff to talk about in League of Legends this week was their group draw show occurred. And we have all that. Hopefully, I need to find the graphic before we launch into that first call about it. But so we're going to talk about groups, and I'm sure a lot of people want to hear everyone else's opinion on, what it means that this team is here and here. I can't wait for the Cloud9's going to make it out and win the whole thing, and Team Liquid's going to lose, and Clutch will be able to end up in a group that they'll destroy. I don't know. It's going to be great. The Louis Vuitton partnership got announced, which is I don't know how many people care about that, but I think is actually a pretty big deal. The World Championship orchestral theme. I don't know if we can talk too much about that, but it happened as well. And
I
then
didn't
I'm trying to
listen
think
it,
if
to
there's
be
anything
honest.
else that got announced. There's a new logo. Double if talking, shitting on NA solo queue again.
Nah.
Yeah.
Didn't
There's
feel like
only
there was
so much you can
anything
say about
new
NA
today.
solo queue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but obviously the group stuff is huge and is going to probably take up the majority of the episode. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think
that.
that's where I definitely want to focus. I think there's more interesting things to say about the groups and the teams now that we've seen them. I haven't done a ton of VOD review, so the most I can say for a lot of is like the top teams in the major regions, which is usually what people want to talk about anyways. But I haven't watched much other than whatever was like their qualifying series, so it will be pretty limited in scope for me at least.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm not prepared to state absolutes.
I do want to say something very funny about the group draw show, which I'm sure won't make it into its own thing, but I thought it was very funny. First off, I thought the group draw show was a little messy, and I know they kind of always are, but like there was some really
I
rough
slept
points.
through it.
What's that?
I said I slept through it. I just checked.
Oh, you
Reddit
slept
when
through it?
woke
Oh,
up.
I was
Yeah.
watching it on a beach, which was great. I swam out of the ocean and was like, "Oh, Kobe or Kelby, the draw show is on," and I just pulled it up on the phone, and both of us watched it in the sand, which was, I think, the best way to watch it. But it was very funny because there were points where like Quickshot was like interrupting Frosker and cutting her off. He did that twice, and like just a whole bunch of stuff. Jizuki didn't ever move his hand around in the bowl. Like he never stirred up the eggs.
Oh,
He just sort of put
yeah.
his hand. No, he'd move his hand in. You'd see his hand move over them as if he was casting a spell, and then he just picked the one in the middle, which was great. And then the funny thing too was Yamato did this too, but it was really bad for Jizuke because the whole point of this whole show started because the community started and pundits in the community started saying you need to make sure that like the draw
It's not
happens
rigged,
live because you need to make sure that you're seeing it unfolds so that it's not like scripted or rigged or whatever, right? No one I think would say like that's probably what's happening, but you still want to make sure that it looks above board. But what was very funny to me was Juzuke would pull the egg out and then he'd move his hand behind the pillar and open it like this and then pull the sheet up. So to me, it was like, I mean, obviously, I don't think that he was putting behind the pillar and then pulling out a different sheet or something like that. But it really defeated the whole original purpose of the show. So I just thought that was hilarious. It was like, and then finally, between like the play-in stage and the group stage draw, they like got him to change it. But it was just, I thought there were many parts of that show that I thought were really funny.
Yeah, I mean that's especially funny too because if someone was rigging it, they would make sure to do it in a much more clever way. And then
Yeah.
like this guy just being a goon in front of everyone.
Yes. It looks so funny because it's like, oh, what's in the egg? But you can't see the egg get opened. There's just a sheet that pulls out. So it's like the whole point of it was just funny. So, anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything else before we get into calls. I know we've got our little segment here, but if is there anything else we should talk about?
No, I think that's a good amount.
Okay. Well, if that's that for that, I want to introduce our first sponsor break for this episode specifically. We're doing something fun. I'm hoping that my person is on hand for this. Anyway, happy to announce that this episode of Hotline League is brought to you by Jack in the Box. They are doing a campaign right now where you talk about Jack hacks, very similar to life hacks. You know, you're gaming, you're doing a show, and you want to make sure that you can get some of your amazing Jack in the Box food going for you. And in that moment, you have to come up with, you know, what is the Jack hack that's going to help you make sure that you can do that. So I'm pretty hungry right now. You know, we do the show. I often have to wait until the end of the show. It's like 10 o'clock at night here in LA. A lot of places are closed. Sometimes I go to Jack in the Box. In fact, I did last week. That's a true story. But what if I just had the food available? And I have, and he's going to love that I'm going to call him this. I have what some might refer to as a personal valet who is able to just deliver me anything. And so my Jack hack, of course, for Jack in the Box is to have Brodin Brodin, were you able to pick up my order? Were you able to pick up my order? Yes, the Jack in the Box. If you're available, that would be great. If you could just Yeah, that was what is I have no idea what those glasses are. If you You're definitely eating my Jack in the Box.
Yeah, careful with this. It's fragile.
Is this the character that you've
Very
created?
fragile. Be careful. Be careful.
Okay, you've just brought me. All you've brought me is a drink.
Soda?
Yes.
And I know you love tacos. Mexican food. So.
You put this in your back pocket?
Yeah.
Okay, this was not what we had planned for this segment. But we've got a Jack in the Box taco right here. Go.
If you like what that is, hold on.
That's pretty good. Brodin is not going according to the script.
Look at this, huh?
You're gonna have to give him a low rating on his delivery service. No tip. Go back, maybe complain.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good one. You like that? Hold on.
Yeah,
Hold on.
a great Jack in the Box burger.
Hold on.
Wrap this up soon, Brodin, because Mark has
More. Hold on.
Mark has to do his. How much did you get?
Get this one. Yeah.
Okay.
Try this one. Yeah. Oh yeah. Eat that one.
You know the cop. This is not according to the script.
This
How,
one too.
how much did you order? This is a chicken sandwich.
Yep. I got a couple chicken sandwiches for you.
Okay.
Try that one too. This is good for you.
You have to help me finish all this after.
Good for you.
Okay, we're gonna let Mark.
Just
Mark.
There's more.
Mark, what is your Jack hack?
I don't have a Brodin, so I don't quite have the ability to, just on demand get a bunch of food. So I went with the order in bulk strategy. And so what I've done, if you can see, is I've just gone ahead and filled up my entire drawer with
that's so
sourdough
convenient.
Jacks. Yeah, so I can just go ahead and pop one of these out.
Wait, which are
At a
those
moment's
specifically?
Sourdough and Jack. I'm glad you have variety because I'm a sourdough and Jack kind of guy. It's all I eat from there. And
Nice, nice.
Mark, this is what we call variety here.
Yeah, that's true. Are those chicken? Oh, actually, this is a chicken strip, right? I'm gonna take the chicken strips.
I mean, this is the good strategy though because as you can see, Brodin comes with problems. He's messing things up. He's late with the order.
These are onion rings.
This is just sitting on ham.
Yeah, no, I think your Jack hack might be superior because Brodin doesn't follow the script. Whatever.
The only person you can trust is yourself, and
That's true.
I'm the one who jams in 6 sourdough and Jacks into my drawer.
All right. Well, thank you very much to Jack in the Box for sponsoring this episode. You can set that down and you can leave now, Brodin.
Oh, these are for you.
And thank you very much to Jack in the Box for sponsoring this episode of Hotline League. We're looking to do another thing with them soon, so hopefully you can stay tuned for that. And I would encourage all of you to consider your own Jack hacks and get innovative so that you can... Okay, I'm just going to put this over here. Get innovative with your own Jack hacks so that you can... I don't need any more tacos. The ad is over, Brodin.
I'll put them here for you.
This is the most Brodin thing of all time to do is just fight for more camera time.
Yes, that's true.
It's like you're supposed to come in, deliver the food.
He craves it at all contests.
Quick cameo, and then leave. And he's like, no, I'm going to turn this whole thing about me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you are going to a DJ thing. Oh, that we did have rope. Yeah. All right. Whatever. Anyway, hopefully you guys can see the other funny video that Brodin and I just got done filming a little bit ago, as well. All right. Goodbye, Brodin. How much of the living room did you clean up?
A minority.
Is Yuna coming back to help clean? Okay, could you message her? I've got to do the show. All right.
Hello.
Goodbye, Brodin. Yeah. Okay. Mark.
Yeah.
Shall we start taking callers? Because you've got food in your mouth, should I explain how the show works?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
No, let's just forget the callers. Let's just call it.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.
That's all this episode was.
Yeah. All right. Well, if this is your first time watching Hotline League, this is a show where we take call-ins and callers. If you want to do right now, Mark is linking the Discord. It's also, if you're listening online, you want to join the Discord, it's discord.gg/Travis. That's my Discord. Go ahead and put your topic in the Pleb Topics channel. Mark will be pulling people. If you are a sub, thank you first off for being a sub, and you can be a sub right now for half off in September. Obviously, that's very helpful to me. And Mark sees none of that money. And anyway, that also lets you go into the subtopics channel and put your topic there. So it moves a little slower there. You can maybe get a better chance to come on the show. But we will be taking your callers and make sure that when you are in the waiting room that you unmute so that Mark can, like, you don't have to mute your mic. Mark, how does it work? I don't normally explain this part of the show.
I just go in there and be like, "Hey, what's your topic?" to get them talking, and I just make sure their mic's working.
Great. Okay. Well, we figured it out.
I forget.
Do that. Anyway, as Mark is moving people into the waiting room, want to give a few quick shout outs to some subs. And Arrow just subbed. He says, "Can you give me my money back now?" Couple shout outs. Raz subbed, Lord Malekith, Hype Love Shack, Wrist Nubs Gaming, a Riffle 317, Voyu1, X Solvark, and Quiet Pirate. Thank you all for your subs. Mark, you want to go grab our first caller?
Yeah, sure.
All right. I'm going to mute myself so I can eat this taco. Mark's grabbing our first caller. And here we are. Kyle, where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up? I'm from North Royalton, Ohio. It's near Cleveland.
Near Cleveland, okay. And Twitch chat, help me make sure that the audio's fine. Anyway, what do you want to talk about on the show tonight, Kyle?
So I believe that TL is easily the most underrated team in all of NALCS history, and they're pretty heavy favorites in their group. Assuming Damwon doesn't get in. If Damwon gets in, they're still favorites, but not heavy favorites.
Okay, are you saying they're favorites like they're the number one team in their group?
Yeah.
All
Most
right.
likely to get first seed.
Do you want to expand on their underrated thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think if C9 or TSM had the same history that TL is, like the same lineup, everything, same results, that they would be like called one of the greatest teams ever. Like compared to G2, honestly. But I don't know, the fact that it's TL, people just don't like them that much. People heavily underrate them. Xsmithy, I think, is extremely underrated as well. Like a 4-peat and also beating the best team in the world, IG. If TSM had done that, I just think people would be praising them a lot more than TL's getting.
It's really weird for me to hear you say that TL's like disliked, because I feel like they are liked more than other teams. Like TSM, I feel like is the one that usually takes more. I mean, obviously they have a crazy fan base, but they also have a lot of crazy haters.
I mean, yeah, they're more polarizing for sure, but I do think that, like, I mean, they were considered one of the greatest with a person like Acadian on their team, which I think was like not even a top 5 jungler.
Mark,
Yes.
is TSM heavily underrated? Because TL, because I feel like people are rating TL like just as high as they rated TSM whenever TSM went to Worlds in 2016 and 2017 with the double lift lineup.
I think 2016, you might be able to say TSM was high rated. There was a lot of hype about that team and how dominant they were in North America. I think there's legitimate questions to how good the rest of North America was at the time, comparatively, as well as the fact that they were probably overhyped. So, yes, they are underrated compared to a TSM in 2016, but I don't know if they're underrated relative to their actual skill level. Which starts getting into a question more about what do you mean by underrated? Because if it's from the TSM perspective, I would agree. Like TSM historically got way more hype. Maybe they would have lost at this point now that North America has kind of accepted. I think more so that even their number one seed is likely at best like 5th on the pecking order, or at worst, like 10th or something. But like, I don't think that means that the TSM back then was appropriately rated. They were just overrated. And this TL feels pretty appropriately rated for me.
Do you think it's reasonable to say that a team that 3-1 the best team in the world might not get out of groups? Like, isn't that underrating them?
G2's the best team in the world.
Everyone was saying IG was the best at that time.
Yeah. So to your point, sure, but it depends who the fourth team is. Because right now I'm saying TL should get out of this group 100%. Damwon ends up in there. It's starting to get a little dicey. IG is a really streaky team. It depends what their meta read is and how they're playing. I mean, we know how good they can be based off just last year and even spring of this year. And Damwon can be pretty scary. I think I actually really like them. So if you get it so that there's another legitimate contender to get out, I think TL could potentially be in some trouble depending on how their month of prep goes and how their first couple games go, if the pressure gets to them or something, But I agree that the expectation for TL, regardless of who else goes in this group, should be that they get out. But
I also think they're getting. Sorry to interrupt you. I also think they're getting held back by the fact that their last MSI or at 2018 MSI and Worlds, they had Pobelter and Ole, and I feel like people kind of expect the same thing out of TL, even though like they had Pobelter and Ole, which are like not good players, honestly. Like Pobelter was heavily exploited. I don't think that can happen to Jensen. Ole obviously has like huge confidence issues. That's not going to happen with Core JJ.
I don't see or hear anybody relating this team. Like, whenever I hear anybody talk about TL going to Worlds this year, I only hear it within the context of the two splits this year and MSI. I don't hear them say like, well, yeah, but remember last Worlds where they sucked. Maybe I'm missing it and you've seen it someplace, but I just don't feel like...
I don't think you go on Reddit enough then, because...
I mean, I do try to avoid it lately. It's been...
I mean,
that's probably a good idea, but...
I generally see some around the idea that Doublelift has historically not done great at Worlds and things like that. With his MSI last year and this year being two of his most standout accomplishments. And so I've seen some criticism from people on Reddit just saying like, Doublelift, generally speaking, doesn't get the job done at Worlds. But I haven't seen that much about I think people understand how important Jensen is to this lineup. His Akali play has been really important in pretty much, and like his LeBlanc and these kinds of things have been super important in TL's domestic and international success this year. And I think it would be a big mistake to overlook that. The fact that there's no longer a clear liability, the one that people look to the most is probably Smithy. And even then, he's pretty good. So I don't know.
I think when Xmithy is your worst player, that's like a great position to be in.
Right. And it doesn't mean that, a team with Broxa, Tarzan, Clid, whatever great jungler you want to mention, can't exploit them. It's still a point where that's probably a mismatch for the enemy team's favor, but that's going to happen. Someone's going to be better on the enemy team. And Smithy is not. He's also not the kind of player where being individually outclassed is usually going to mean he's going to get shit on. The way a really streaky mechanical player who's outclassed is in deep trouble. Smithy's not that guy.
Yeah, I also they weren't that far from getting. What was it? Were they 3-4 in groups last time in 2018? They were one game away from winning. Basically,
yeah, they were one game out. I think they are usually Peter's teams are usually one game away from getting out of groups.
Yeah, and I think if you were that close to getting out with Pobelter, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a different year though. I don't for the same reason why you think people shouldn't be comparing the TL of last year to the TL of this year. I think you shouldn't do that in your argument, right? If you don't think what they did last year was applicable, I don't think what they did last year was applicable.
Fair enough.
Their
weak points that they had that year were fixed, is what I'm saying, basically.
Well, sure, but who knows? G2 didn't have too many problems, and they sure fixed those. So, it's all relative. One thing I did want to go on before we move on to the next caller is you mentioned that you feel like they're the favorite in the group, so you rate them higher than IG.
Yeah, they 3-1'd IG, and I'll be honest, I don't watch China, but I've been hearing that they've been slumping a lot, IG, and I think if you can beat IG in their prime, I don't see why they would be an issue now.
Mark, do you feel like that's fair?
Yeah, I don't think it's that wrong. I think for the most part, IG is not quite the dominating, scary wheel gods that they were. Rookie was kind of the best player at 2018 Worlds, heading into it. A lot of people had that opinion, and he kind of showed that. Like, he showed on every single mid laner he played against, basically. And I don't think he's been playing quite at that level. People say Jackie Love's been playing better. That's probably true. The Shy has been a little hit or miss, but that's kind of his playstyle, I think. And I don't think the carry meta is quite as powerful as it was for top laners at Worlds last year. We'll see if that changes, when the tournament actually starts. But it does feel a little bit hampered. So, yeah, I don't know. I think, Ning is also was really struggling, and they've been substituting people. So I don't know. I think it could go. I would say heading into it, I would expect Team Liquid to be better. Leyen's been good, but I would expect TL to be better. But with the caveat that this is still the team that won Worlds for the most part last year, with all of their best players still around. Baolan might not be the idiot that he was in their series from MSI. You talk about things that might stay the same. There's also things that might change and stuff like that.
So, are we gonna? Do you think there's other TL topics, Mark, that you've pulled?
I forget, to be honest.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go on the record and be a little down on TL in this call, which is gonna blow people's minds. But I'm actually pretty worried for them. I think they just started scrimming after having a really long break. I'm worried that they could end up with the G2 vacation memes. And it's obvious that they haven't been scrimming a ton because Doublelift has been streaming a ton. And they just went over to Europe later than Cloud9 and possibly later than Clutch. I think Clutch might have been over there before then too.
I'm sure they stayed over there in play-ins.
Yeah. And so I am just a little more nervous than I think some people for what state TL is going to show up in. Because and by the way, I think it's great that they had a break beforehand. I am worried about how long that break was. And yeah, I'm just a bit nervous, when you see.
What I'm gonna say is,
oh, go ahead.
People were saying they were nervous about the first time they went against C9 and they 3-0'd them. People were nervous versus TSM and they won that. People were nervous when they went against C9 the second time and they won that. People were nervous when they went against IG, rightfully so, obviously, but they 3-1 that. I think this is what I mean.
People weren't nervous when they went up against G2 and they got smashed in the face in the finals.
Yeah, let's just gloss over that, okay?
So
why
I'm just
can't we
saying,
gloss over the win over IG then? If we can gloss over the
No, I know. I'm joking. No, that wasn't.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
That was not good. But
yeah.
So I just I don't think it's fair to just say just because they're nervous doesn't mean. Look, they could show up and they could smash and they could be great, but I do worry that a lot of people. I know that the TL players are memeing whenever they say already got out of groups or whatever, but I do think some people are like, okay, TL's going to get out, but if Damwon shows up and IG shows up, I feel like, and TL is maybe not in as good a form as they were before, or it takes a little bit for them to warm up. They could have one of those weeks or those groups stages where they look really bad in the beginning and then they get into form and they figure out their shit, but then it's just too little too late and, some other team drops a game randomly or I don't know, something weird happens and I don't know. So I'm just, I am, as I said, nervous for TL.
I mean, even AHQ in that sense can, sometimes do stuff like the LMS sometimes pops out a W somewhere randomly. So
yeah.
That'd be a very NA thing to do is lose one game to AHQ and get out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I am not counting my chickens before they hatch when it comes to TL and getting out of groups, and I don't think anyone else should be. I mean, believe in the team, but I don't think that we should be like, okay, cool, I'm booking my trip to Spain because I'm going to watch TL play. That's my concern.
Yep.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway, thanks so much, Kyle, for calling in. Anything you want to say as we move on to the next caller?
I mean, I'm vegetarian, so I don't eat Jack in the Box, but they got great fries, I guess.
They have
Curly
they have
fries
some
are top
vegetarian
tier.
options. Anyway, thanks so much, Kyle.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, everyone. All right, moving on to the next caller. I'm going to get rid of Mark's Skype icon because they don't pay us. Boom. And he grew. Congrats to Mark. All right. We were doing some shout outs. Quiet Pirate, Reaver Kiri, Smoke Dog, who got recognized in a game for subbing on this channel, and then also Grey Rat Doctor for 5 months. Welcome to the show, Prador. Prador, you've been on the show before, but I feel like it's been a while.
Yeah, I have been twice.
Twice, that's right. Remind me where you're calling from.
I'm from Finland.
Finland, that's right. That's right. Well, what do you want to talk about? I feel like we're going to start getting more European colors since Worlds is upon us.
Yeah, I'm calling from that EU will be the strongest region in the world this year, and they have a good chance getting 3 teams out of groups.
You say all 3 teams out of groups.
Yes, all 3.
Okay.
Good chance, not like 100%, but like, let's say 75.
Okay.
Okay. So that means Splice is ending up in Group B or Group
Group B.
Do they have to be Group B?
Not necessarily. It's 50% getting Group B. So
Right. I'm trying to make sure because sometimes you get these weird things where like, yes, they can be in Group B and Group D, but this one team has to be in Group D, so therefore they're in Group B. And I don't think there's any of those because C9, or excuse me, I'm so used to C9 being in the gauntlet. Clutch can get Group B or Group C. Damwon can get D and B, and then EU can get B and D as well. So a bunch of people can get Group B and Group D. Right?
yes, but without upsets, Clutch will be Group C, I think. It's 100% almost.
Yeah, I thought that. Yes, that's what I had heard as well. Was that because because Clutch can't go into A or D. There's some reason that they can't be in B. I think it's because another team can't be in
Yes. Yeah,
C,
you're right. Because Europe and Korea have the same groups available in B and D. Whoever gets B has to get D, which means there's no room for NA in Group B, so they have to get C.
Right.
If everyone
That's
goes
if
to plan.
Splice doesn't make it out.
What? No.
Sorry. If Splice doesn't make it out, Clutch can end up in B.
Yeah, so there needs to be an upset somehow for Clutch to get out of Group C. Otherwise, they're there.
Right. And that very much contradicts our friend's premise, which is that Splice will not only make it out of play-ins, but out of groups as well. So that's why he would assume.
Yeah, it helps that they can't get in Group C.
Right.
I mean, they already have Fnatic in there, so it wasn't an option anyways. But...
Right. Okay. So, Prador, do you want to elaborate a little bit on why you think EU is so strong this year?
Well, I don't think Splice is actually that strong, but the Group B is like literally easiest group in World's history. That like 2 wildcard teams is like just dream come true for any playing. Let it be Damwon or even Clutch if there's some upsets in play-ins.
Okay, so you think Splice? So it's really not Splice so much as just like their situation, but clearly you believe a lot in G2 and Fnatic.
Yes, I have a strong belief that Fnatic and G2 are like top 5, top 4 teams in tournament. Fnatic has a good stylistic matchup against SKT, and in my mind, they play strong early game, which can punish SKT rather slow start, I think.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good point about the style because even RNG is, compared to other Chinese teams, a little bit on the slower end as well. So I think you're right about that as well. Potentially, if the style is good against SKT, it should be good against RNG relatively. Now they are kind of different in that regard, I think, where both have really great AD carries in Uzi and Teddy, but I think it feels like RNG is more dependent on their bot lane going than SKT is. Plus, I think Clid, you could say maybe has a little bit better time keeping up with some of the early game if he's going to be the main stopgap for them. But I do think it's a fair point overall that this should be okay for them. Stylistically, it's still hard on a skill check level, though. Both those teams are really good. Now, I think Group A, I'm with you, G2 getting out 100%. It can't get any harder, really, because you already have 3 of the major regions represented. And IG already has, or excuse me, China already has their 3 teams in the other groups. So there's no one difficult joining Group A. G2 is much better than C9, in my opinion. Griffin, I mean, it's an interesting test. I think G2 should be better than them, but Griffin are kind of the wild boys of.
Yeah, they're very hot and cold, right?
Right, yeah, and they do really interesting things. They're not afraid to make waves with cool stuff. The way typically you think about Korean teams, and they're playing the meta and they're being standard and blah 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 blah. And Griffin is not really that team for the most part. They do have a reputation as chokers, so maybe they try something flashy and it goes wrong, and then they just completely boom in the group. But I do think. They will be an interesting test for G2, who also doesn't really play super standard. So I think that's a really interesting matchup. But even if Griffin's better than G2, that doesn't mean G2's not getting out of the group. So the caller's point still stands 100%. G2 is getting out of that group.
I mean, the interesting thing though is that I feel like there's some pretty scary teams that could end up getting, like, we're talking about G2 potentially making it to semis, right?
I think they should.
Because the interesting thing for me is what happens when they go up. Like, I look at, okay, let's take Group C. You're probably going to end up with Fnatic, RNG, or SKT coming out of that group in the second seed. And they're going to have to face off against one of them. We know they can beat Fnatic, though those matches seem to be fairly close. So what happens whenever they have to go up against SKT, or if they have to go up against SKT or RNG? That could be a little bit more spooky.
RNG is likely going to sacrifice their top side so hard against G2 that they should be able to snowball Wonder against RNG pretty well.
Yeah. And I worry about Fnatic as well, having to go, like, if I don't know if Fnatic can make semis if they have to face off against one of these pretty scary teams.
Right, but we're just talking about getting out of groups right now because,
Oh, yeah, I was just going off of his top 4 situation.
Yeah, top 4 will be hard for Fnatic to get because they almost need to get first in their group. Of course, I think if they face Group D first seed, I think they can beat them. Let it be Damwon, IG, or TL. But that's like 33% to get one of those.
I mean, I would love to see. Obviously, I'm hoping NA teams get out, but I would love to see all 3 LEC teams get out of groups because I think that would be amazing, given that Worlds is in Europe this year, and I think Europe has had such a good year that having something like that happen would feel really good for them. So.
Well, I think what's also interesting too is that whoever gets Group B has a really good chance of getting all 3 of their teams out. Because, like, in Group A, G2 and Griffin should get out. In Group C, SKT and Fnatic probably should get out, though RNG contests Fnatic a little bit maybe for that second spot. I do think SKT will get out in the first spot. And then Group B is free for whoever gets it, right? And then Group D gets a little testy. If Splice can actually get over top of TL or IG.
Do we really think, by the way, that Group B is free?
Yes.
Yeah. I agree with the caller that this is probably the worst the seeding has ever done the tournament in terms of a group. I don't know if there's ever been an easier group. And I know we get these things wrong all the time. Like, you say that this group's super hard. It's the group of death, like Group B last year. And turns out that RNG has more holes than we thought they did. And we've seen Vitality, C9, and G2 exploit that. And then we also saw that Samsung was a complete fucking flop and terrible. And it turns out not to be that difficult of a group.
So we just think there's no chance that Gigabyte Marines makes it out.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe over Splice, but I haven't.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, right? Like it doesn't seem, even our caller, who's a big EU fanboy, no offense.
That's true.
You don't even. That's true. You don't even have that much faith in Splice, right? Like you said, you don't think Splice is maybe that great. I mean, maybe I'm saying all this and then Gigabyte Marines will not win a single game in their group, right? But like, I don't know. Groups have all these upsets, and I've been covering this stuff for a long enough time to just feel like saying, "Oh yeah, you know, they get into this group, and then it's a free win." Like, I don't. Weird stuff happens.
I think that's fair. I just think the historics of what I've seen from Gigabyte Marines isn't great. I don't love them. Actually, wait. I'm thinking of the wrong team. I'm being an idiot.
Gigabyte Marines was the one is the team that always like shows up.
Yeah. Well, so they got Zeros from Fengvu, right? And then Levi's back. I actually haven't watched their qualifying tournament, so I'm a little hesitant to really say, oh yeah, Splice is better than them. But just historically speaking, I haven't been super impressed. I guess that would be somewhat close. I'd have to check. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, it's Worlds. Anything can happen, Mark.
Anything can happen, but like I said, I'm not going to shy away from any definitives. So we'll just go with game sucks.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, thank you. I think you were right. There's a good chance that all three LEC teams could make it out. Prador, thank you so much for calling in. Anything you want to say as we move on to the next caller?
Nothing special. Shout out to sponsors.
Thank you. Great. Shout out to sponsors. You know,
shout them out.
So I love how point in fact that is. Okay, let's move on to the next caller. Sable Flag, thank you for the 21 months. What'd you say? Oh, Mark left. Ollie 1, thank you for the 13. Poro and Mars, thank you for the 14. Jordan, thank you for the 20. Carouse 44, 9. Turquoise. And Narrow, who already shouted out. Hell's Red, Team Corgi Mid. Young Yeater, where are you calling from?
Calling from Orlando, Florida, Travis.
Oh boy. Anytime anybody addresses me by my name in their introduction statement, I get worried. What do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
I think there's a very high chance that no EU teams make it out of groups this year.
Okay. Do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, so I think for Group A, I think C9 and blanking on
Griffin.
Griffin will make it out, and the reason I think C9 will have the edge over G2 is that if Crap shows up, Niski and Sven Skarum will just run over the game, and that's why I think Group A will go that way. Group C, I mean, it's obviously the group of death, and I was watching the Fnatic reaction to it, and you could already tell that Reckless had a loser mentality with everything. So
can you elaborate on how you could tell that?
He was just complaining like, oh, why did we get stuck in this group, blah blah blah, stuff like that.
Okay.
And which I don't think they have it's not fair, I guess, because they've had like two of the easiest groups the last two worlds, so that would be why.
You're saying they got Group C because in the past they've had easy groups, and so they now have to pay for it.
Yep.
Okay. And then did you want to discuss Splice?
I'll say that I actually think Splice probably has one better chance than the other two teams to get out if they get into Group B.
Okay.
I mean, I could even see them getting into Group D and knocking out Team Liquid potentially, but I think people are overrating and giving G2 a free pass in Group A, and then Group C is clearly the group of death, so I think their chances aren't as high as people think.
All right. Didn't we decide that they can't end up in Group D? Or could they, Mark?
Who?
Splice.
Yeah, Splice is B or D.
Okay. That's right. So if they end up in Group D, you think they'll take Team Liquid out?
Yeah, just because I don't know, I feel like TL's kind of cursed, especially with Double Lift tweeting they're already out of groups. Like it wouldn't surprise me if I think they're favorites to make it out, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't.
Okay. So can you tell me why you favor Cloud9 over G2?
Yeah, I think if Crap shows up in their game, since they're best of ones, and Niski gets a lead, I think they'll just run over the game and be able to end it pretty quick. Obviously, Craps doesn't show up every game, but it's definitely possible.
Okay, but when he'd probably need to show up in like 2 games, right?
Yep.
Okay.
What about like Rift Rivals? I know it's not, you know, the most competitive tournament necessarily, but neither were those games versus G2. Are you at all concerned that C9 got destroyed at Rift Rivals?
I mean, they were also pretty sick, but I think my takeaway from them at Rift Rivals, I thought Niski still played pretty well there. He got ahead some of those games, and I also think at Worlds, like, I don't know, I feel like Sneaky gets a buff going into Worlds where he'll play like not the greatest in NA, and then he'll go to Worlds and stand toe to toe with like Korean bot lanes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one for me to
Like I can see a world. By the way, our numbers just dropped. I'm pretty sure our EU viewership just left the.
Yeah, sorry about your dislike ratio.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I can see a world where Cloud9 makes it out of Group A because they seem to always make it out, and something crazy could happen. But I feel like it's more likely that Griffin falls apart than G2 falls apart.
Yeah, I can see that as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, the point's less about C9, more about G2 though, and Europe's successes, which is like, I have a weird idea. Like, I just can't wrap my head around how Splice, the worst European team, has a better chance of upsetting the best North American team, but the second best North American team has a better chance of upsetting the best European team.
Well,
like
so he's using historical data, and the historical data would indicate that Cloud9 will make it out of groups and TL won't.
Right, which is why I'm saying I'm having a hard time with this, because rather than using the current data of how they look and talking about anything about strengths of the rosters and the skill and these things, you know, like, I can't argue that C9 always gets out of groups for the most part, aside for the time they didn't. You know, that one. I mean, I can't really argue with that. There's just nothing to say. I just think it's wrong. I think there's no way Europe doesn't get a team out of groups. I think G2 is the safest bet. I can understand some hesitancy about Splice should they end up in Group D and even potentially Group B. I think you're right to maybe put a little bit of doubt there. Fnatic has a tough time in Group C, but I think they have a very good shot of doing it. So, like, I just can't see all of those dice getting cast and all of them coming up, you know, snake eyes or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think what I think is the craziest, because there's several different assumptions here, right? One is G2 won't make it out, one is Fnatic won't make it out, one is Splice won't make it out, or they will by beating TL. I'm trying to think if Splice beating TL is more likely or G2 not making it out is more likely. And I think Splice beating TL is more likely.
You think it's more likely that Splice beats TL than G2 doesn't get out?
Right.
Okay.
What do you think?
I might disagree with that. That's actually a really interesting one. Splice goes into Group D, TL and them battle for second spot to get out. I think Team Liquid should be able to do it. I have a lot of faith in them.
See, this is here's my problem, Mark. This has been said.
Always choke.
This has been said. Like, so you referenced. You're like, well, I don't like that Young Eater is saying that, you know, that he's using historical data instead of actual data. The problem is every year you can use actual data and say, well, TL or TSM should make it out.
Right, you can
and
be wrong.
Probably Cloud9 shouldn't, but that actual data falls apart and the historical data takes over.
No, I think that's not historical data taking over. It's either you were wrong in the beginning or something changed and made you wrong. Like, hey, RNG was the best team in the world for a period of time. But when they came to this, it was a lot more solo lane focused meta. And guess what? Letme's left on a fucking island to get dominated by Wonder and people, as well as the fact that the mid laners did a pretty good number on Xiaohu as well. Now, is that you were wrong? Is that historical data taking over about something? No, it's about you misunderstood the meta going into Worlds because we're not scrimming for 8 hours a day and don't know what's happening. So very easily, G2 could go out there and lay a turd and lose, or C9 could make it for some reason, or TL could choke. But that's probably not historic data crawling out of the grave. It's like something happened.
I love how enraptured your cat is with this rant.
He's like, "Why are your hands anywhere but on my head?"
Yeah.
That's all he's thinking. It's not to say you should overlook historical data. I think it has a place in saying, Sneaky at Worlds, as much as people want my bag on him, he's never been a huge liability for the team, and sometimes it's their strong point. I think it's fair to reference that, but that's not really outcomes. You're not saying like C9 gets out, therefore they will get out again. There you're saying here's a specific thing that we've seen about a player during his time against Worlds competition. I'm not saying you can't use historical data at all. I just mean purely results of historics is like you're throwing out whatever else happened around them, all the circumstance. I have an issue with that. And yes, Doublelift has historically not done great at Worlds. So there's a question mark there. And I think it's fair to say it's a little risky. But I would still put them. If it was like, hey, make a bet, TL is getting out, I would still take that bet. Yeah, they're getting out.
So you think it's more likely that G2 doesn't make it out of Group A than Splice beats TL to get out of Group B?
I said that was an interesting one.
Well, then you started to take a stance. I thought that the stance you took was the G2 one. What is your stance?
I think it's more likely that it's really hard.
Yeah, that's always a fun one.
What's your stance? Let me ask you. Do you have an inclination?
Me or
either? I don't know.
I already said. I think it's more likely that that Splice makes it out over TL than that G2 doesn't make it out.
I think overall, say Splice goes B and Group D and Damwon goes to Group D, I say it's more likely that TL wouldn't make it out. But yeah, I don't know. I still feel like there's a chance that G2 doesn't make it out. You gotta also remember that they always randomly drop games to the wildcard teams.
Sure, and they also beat a lot of good teams too. I think G2's fine. I think Group D is actually the interesting point, but I mean Group C as well. I just can't see it. I disagree fundamentally. I think G2's 100% out. I think they're safe.
Okay, so then you agree it's more likely that Splice beats TL.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. Womp womp womp. Okay. Well, anyway, thanks, Young Eater, for the hot take and for the interesting discussion.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
Yeah. Anything you want to say as we say goodbye?
Stay salty, EU.
Okay. Have a good one.
I mean, he gets to call back when G2 doesn't make it out.
Right.
He gets the call back.
That's true. That's true. All right, we're gonna take a quick break to talk about for our second ad break of the evening. We're gonna grab here. Let me grab. So, I want to talk about Alienware, our sponsor. Thank you so much to Alienware for everything they do. I'm going to be at their booth this weekend with Mark. Come by and see us Friday afternoon. I'm going to be tweeting out the exact time later on, but Mark and I will be there on Friday. We might be doing something on stream, on my stream. If not, we'll maybe be doing like a fan meet. I don't know if we have fans. A viewer meet of...
hey guys, come by this booth while people yell at you. Meet.
Yeah. Either way, please come by and say hi. It's going to be cool. Also, they helped support all the LPL content, and we've got the dock landing soon. Mini dock that we did while we were over there, so keep an eye out for that. And they also have a bunch of cool product over at alienware.com/Travis. I believe you can now pre-order their new 27-inch monitors, which are incredible. Why are you still here? You said you had to go to the DJ thing.
Yeah.
Did you clean the living room?
A little bit.
Brodin's just trying to make
When I do the movement ad break, are you also going to show up with movement stuff? Also, I don't think you were ever wearing the 100 Thieves stuff before. Like, you just put that on for this. Whatever. Nate Shot's probably paying you. All right. Either way, thank you, Brodin. But go check out the alienware.com/Travis. You can use Travis 10 off to get 10% off your purchase. This is Area 51M, by the way. We were using it for a shoot earlier. I put it over here on top of another Alienware laptop. I've got too much Alienware stuff. Either way, thank you so much to them for their support, and be sure to check out their booth at TwitchCon if you're there, and stay tuned for more information on what we're doing. It might involve a stream as well. Mark, you want to grab our next caller?
Sure. You didn't even talk about my fancy new headset. I'm disappointed.
Oh yeah, you have, and Mark has a fancy new headset,
Thanks.
which you can also buy at alienware.com/Travis. I'll put the link in the chat, and also if you're watching. Oh yeah, I got our editor headset, and he said he loves it. It's the same. I think it's the same one Mark is using. So they're hooking us up, which is great because we've had some audio issues in the past, and it was because Joe's headset situation was garbage. Anyway, Smoking the Kush, welcome back to the show. I'll never forget you with that name. Remind me where you're calling from?
San Jose.
San Jose, that's right. Need to remember. Anyway, what do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
All right, so my topic was, someone was going to have to do it, so it's going to be me. My topic was that Worlds needs to consider having some kind of format change because the group of death, it can be fun. This was basically just the Reddit thread that was on top of League this morning, but the group of death can be fun, but it also, to see a lot of the best teams eliminated before knockouts. And like, if you saw the Fnatic reaction video to the group draw, Reckless was like, at the end, he was talking about how maybe that's 3 out of the 5 top teams in the tournament in one group. So it's arguable that he's maybe right. And so the fact that 1 out of maybe the top 5 teams doesn't even get to knockout stage, and then the fact that knockout stage is also single elimination, I think there could be an argument being made that the best teams don't really always go furthest at the tournament, and especially because all international tournaments, like there's implications for like future seeding and like the next tournament and stuff like that. I think it's important that we get the format right to make sure the best teams are getting further.
Well, I think the only am I correct in assuming, Mark? I'm not forgetting something. It's only the first place region that really gets an advantage in future events.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not 100% sure on how they decide who gets the, third team auto-seeded.
I thought that's why China doesn't have to play in the play-ins, because they won last year.
I don't think it's only that, because they also won MSI and Rift Rivals, so I think the fact that they had won everything, 'cause I think MSI matters too. I think it's like average.
They didn't win MSI this year.
No, I said last year. They won everything last year.
Yes. But so you think it takes into account the other events that they won? I thought it was just final or Worlds.
I could be wrong. I thought it's the last 2 Worlds and MSIs. Yeah, so it's their last 2 years of placings. So
interesting. Anyway,
yeah,
it's past. Thank you, Twitch chat, for correcting us on this specific thing.
I'm
just so used to Korea not having to do it that it's hard to imagine, or it's hard to realize why.
Yeah.
So anyway, it does take into account just the first place finishes, I believe, which is,
if I remember correctly, didn't NA lose the first seed at Worlds, or like the pool 1 seed, because they were doing bad in international performances?
Yeah, I think
like
that was an
MSI
MSI event though. I think they might have changed the rule, because I remember at one point in time we didn't do well at an MSI. I think TSM didn't make it out in Brazil. Is that why?
I think so.
I don't know. Anyway,
it was the one where TSM sucked a turd, which was the one versus Gigabyte.
Yes. Yeah. So that was the Brazil one.
I don't know everything about how the seeding implications.
But regardless, that has nothing to. I don't know. If it sounds like they might have changed the rules anyway, but I worry less about the seeding thing. I think, look, we've talked about this before. The current Worlds format is great at determining, or decent at determining, who is the best team in the world, it doesn't really show you who's the second best or the third best or fourth best, because you could have the first best eliminate the second best in quarters, I think. I guess that's not right, because they would be second seed. Whatever.
Know what
Point
you're
is,
saying.
you don't, because you don't have like the double elimination, you can't necessarily find out who the second best is.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I go back and forth on this. I do like the double or the losers bracket. I really like how that plays out at TI, because they have a losers bracket there. The problem is Worlds is so fucking long, and there are so many games, and it's just like, if you add a losers bracket, it just feels like it's going to be insane. Wake up, Mark.
Yeah, I think I don't really mind that the point of the tournament focuses on winning more so than, third or fifth or whatever. I think it's really cool that, even at the end you can debate like, oh, I think Kingzone was the second best team last year because IG played them in a really close series and won. And therefore, I think the second best, though they didn't have to play anyone else, so they didn't get a chance to, which sucked for them. Right, but I always say Kingston when I'm talking about KT. Fuck. Anyways, I understand. KT would have very much appreciated another shot at them, but then you have that weird situation where, like, okay, that best of 5 was super close. They rerun the bracket. Now what are you doing for the grand finals? KT versus IG Part 2. Do you start with a seeded advantage? Some people think that's dumb. So then maybe you just make it a double best of 5. That's absolutely ridiculous to do in a single day. So then it's like, what are we doing? Bracket reset on another day? Or are we doing no bracket reset? And then for some reason, IG beat them earlier in the tournament. And now KT beats them later in the tournament. And they're 1-1 in best of 5s. But because they won later on, KT's the champion, Like, you get into this whole kind of conundrum of things that happen on top of, like Travis is saying, the format situation. So I kind of like, if I was going to do a finals, with a potential repeat, it would be like you seed one win. But then, I don't know, that feels weird, like seeding a win.
Yeah.
So it raises a ton of problems to fix a problem that you could argue whether or not the tournament's even is a problem in the tournament scope. If it's to be like Summoner's Cup goes to this team, they were the best at this tournament, there you go. It does that for the most part.
And there's no third, fourth place match, so it's not like they really care about ranking the teams all the way down.
Right. So, I think you could. Someone in that Reddit thread had a suggestion about making the second and third place teams play a best of 3, and the
Damn
fourth
it, Mark!
team
You stole my thing that I was going to steal from
Okay,
Reddit.
well, say
Mark.
it. Say it. Smoking.
No, Mark,
Fine.
you can finish.
No, it's your point. I don't even know what I just said.
Yeah, explain what this
I
is.
was just stealing it from Reddit anyways. But yeah, basically it was just a comment on Reddit that they were saying that the first seed from the group could auto-qualify to the knockouts, and then second and third seeds from groups would play each other in like a best of 3 or best of 5, and it would just add another round to the tournament. So groups would still matter, but like I will admit that it's going to be a bummer at the end of groups this year when one of RNG, SKT, or Fnatic are eliminated, when realistically, if they were in different groups, you could make an argument for any of them to win the whole tournament.
Yeah,
I feel like that's just how it goes sometimes, though. I mean, groups should feel, in my opinion, groups should feel intense. They shouldn't just be like, okay, well, we're gonna find the fourth worst team in this group and identify it pretty quickly, and then they're gonna wash out. The next 3 get to move on, and like the second and third play each other. Like, I like the fact that like you get these groups that are pretty brutal, and you have to fucking show up.
Sure, that is an aspect of it, but
I mean, groups is the most exciting time of Worlds, pretty much all the time. I mean, maybe not so much recently, where European teams and North American teams are making later pushes into the tournament, but for a period of time for the West, like groups was it. That was the shit. And a lot of times it's where all the craziness happens. The craziest upsets and the craziest moments are usually from that. Like, some series do have it, but a lot of series are just like, it's a 3-1 or it's a 3-0 or something.
Small counterpoint. are any NA fans or unless no, because Clutch can't get to Group B probably. So are any NA fans gonna stay up to watch Group B, group stage, like to watch that group?
I haven't looked at the schedule, so I don't know. It's also hard for me because I'm like over there, so I
Yeah,
haven't.
true. But
What
there's
does the
one
schedule
group.
look like there? What's the problem?
Oh well, it's just at like 6 a.m. So are people really gonna stay up to watch a J team and I don't know face off at 6 a.m.? I don't know about that.
How many of those people would watch it if it was like fucking prime time? Like maybe
Yeah.
idly you would put it on, but like you're gonna have that problem with a Western audience and two of the worst teams from the East.
Exactly.
So I mean, here's what I will say: I have a bigger problem with the idea of a Group B than the problem of a Group C, where you're like, yeah, we're knocking out one of the best teams early in the tournament. I don't have a problem with that because if they get knocked out there, then they probably weren't going to make that many moves later on in the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if it really is the top 5, or 3 of the top 5, then that feels a little worse. But if it's like RNG is the 8th team and they get knocked out here, or like they're the 7th team, I'm not too bent out of shape about it. I don't like the idea of the 12th best team getting in. I like if Gam or J team or hopefully it's Damwon there just for the sake of balancing it out. But even Splice, like I really have a hard time believing Splice is a top 10 team in this tournament. Even if they do make it through that group, and that's where I have a bigger problem because then that really taints the best of 5 matchup that happens afterwards, which is the situation that happened with Albus Nox Luna. I don't care if a strong team gets knocked out early.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Because that means another strong team is over them, right? Or they choked really hard and they don't deserve it. But when a shitty team gets a free ride, I start having a bigger problem because it has serious ramifications on the later portions of the bracket stage. So I don't mind Group C's, like Travis is saying. They're really fucking intense, and every game matters so much when there's not that many easy wins in your bracket. But goddamn, Group B, if Splice end up in there, I'm gonna be sad.
Yeah, just that was my last little minor point I wanted to make is that like maybe it doesn't really matter for the context of the tournament, but fans do care about stuff like that. So as an NA fan, it's gonna feel like a bummer if like J team makes it further than like Team Liquid. Like it's just gonna be lame. But because of the group draws, like if we get Damwon, right? So just yeah, I don't know.
So
I don't like Group B more than I dislike Group C.
There's no way they would ever do this at Worlds, but I did think it was interesting. Kelby told me they just manually seed the teams in TI. Like they literally say, here's a balanced group, here's a balanced group, here's a balanced group, which I found was really fascinating. Mark.
Yeah, I think that's a interesting way to do it. But I don't know how much. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It depends. Like,
it's much easier there because you have more international competitions occurring.
Right. Exactly. Like I wouldn't feel confident being like, I did that thing that the Reddit poll did. Where they're like, click who you think's going to win, and they give you 20 random matchups, and you just kind of click through. Like half of those, I was like, what the fuck am I saying, really?
Same.
So like, I would have a hard time if someone was like, okay, I've watched all these things, I have my opinions. How like what hill am I ready to die on about these group matchups? It's pretty tough. And people are saying like, oh, A and X, they deserved it. They beat Rocks and they beat CLG and G2 choked or whatever. I'm not saying that like it's Albus Nox Luna's fault. I'm just saying that they were not the 8th best team. That's all I'm saying. They were not the 8th best team. That was a weird shit that happened in the tournament, and then bracket stage got really messed up because of it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's Albus Nox Luna's fault or they didn't deserve it. It's just unfortunate that the 12th best team got through. And I would like to minimize situations like what's likely going to happen in Group B here. That's more what I was saying, more than Albus Nox Luna didn't deserve it. Deserve is a weird word to even use in a tournament. Shit happens. Who cares what you're earned or what you're deserved? That's what happens.
All right.
X.
Anyway, thank you so much for calling in, Smokin'. Do you have any final thoughts, anything you want to say as we move on?
No, just once again, thanks to all the sponsors for making everything happen. Love the show, love the content. I was pretty nervous last time. I forgot to say I'm a big fan of both you guys, so keep up all the awesome work. And once again, shout out my fam squad. Anyone who's watching, let's go fam squad. Thanks, guys.
Let's go fam squad.
I'm concerned what that's associated with. I won't say it.
And you know when Mark's concerned about saying something, it's probably risky. Good point.
It's risky.
All right. All right. Let's move on. By the way, I know we've got Raz in the chat, and I don't know if Ovilee disappeared or not, but if
I saw Raz in here, and I asked him on Discord, did he have something to say? And I don't think he responded.
I mean, we could pull him for one of these other calls too, if somebody wants to.
Yeah,
if somebody's like, I think IG sucks, we can grab him.
I see you, Raz. I just meant like I didn't know if you want. Let's just fucking put him on.
It's something to think about. And I don't know. Did Ovilee go AFK?
I'm pulling him right now. He's coming straight on air. No waiting room.
Okay.
Boom. He's here.
Hi, Raz.
What the hell? Oh, that happened quickly. Holy shit! All right.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. Do you have any takes on anything that's been said so far? There's an individual who thought that TL was definitely way stronger than IG.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's a fine take. You know, going into a tournament that Team Liquid looks to be the stronger team. But I will shout out a warning. First, I'll make my statement that you can probably put on the top of Reddit, whatever. All LPL teams will make it to knockout stage. Just easiest shit in the world.
Every LPL team makes it out of groups.
The third one's probably really the only one people actually care about, being Invictus Gaming, because as I said, Team Liquid look like the better team going into the tournament. But once again, if you just look at every world seed, except for maybe season 3 or something, or season 4, that's when like SKT was first seed. Like second seed, third seed, those are the teams that have usually done better. Like the last time I called, talking about evolutions throughout the tournament. We saw an evolution in Invictus Gaming during the last series that qualified them in when they're going up against TOP. So watching and seeing Rookie perform incredibly well in like his last game or last 2 games, seeing the shot, like basically all of those players looking great, Leon having a fantastic performance. That's actually something that I'm scared about because I can give wait, I can't cuss.
You can cuss.
No, you're good.
I can give a rat's ass about what happened in the beginning of the split, the first 5 weeks, the first 8 weeks. For me, it's all about recency. That's literally the only thing that matters. I think consistency.
Recency bias.
Oh god. I think consistency matters to a certain degree around trust, or at least consistency matters around trust. But when I look at Invictus Gaming, I see a team that has actually consistently grown, has had issues with synergy because they've been obviously throughout the entire split pulling out members. First 3 weeks Baolan, the next few weeks until like week 6, didn't have a Rookie, and then the last few weeks, not having Ning and choosing Leon. But the reason why I'm actually pretty high on them at this point is because IG is looking better and better. Leon's been a far more consistent jungler, and watching him during like the LDL, he's actually a really strong mechanical player. So the fact that he is picking up the elites really showcases that he's getting to a point in which they do rely on him to be an early game, carry potential, though Elise can be more of a, facilitator as well. So my take is IG's looking incredible in the last few games. Individually, once again, whenever you get to Worlds and you have like matchup versus matchup, it's always based on, well, who do you actually believe in player, pound for pound players? And I think a lot of people just don't know anything about Leon. But I look at the Leon versus Xmithia matchup, and I think that mechanically he's going to be stronger. Look at towards like Jackie Love, who's actually just the best AD carry in the LPL right now. So like that one is actually going to be a really tough matchup for bot side as well. Like a lot of these matchups are going to be really interesting to watch, but I just think Invictus Gaming will be able to take the long haul during the group stage. And
but what about Group C? I said all 3 teams.
There we go.
That's the one I'm more curious about. Whose spot are they taking? SKT or Fnatic's?
Uh-oh. Alrighty, you fans, now buckle in. My big thing actually on Europe is like if you look at any team that is won out in Worlds, or at least because I think a lot of the discussion about which region is the best in the world has been based on, G2's current strength, but like historically it's been who has the strongest depth of talent or team pool in their region. Problem with Europe is I look at G2 and say, yeah, they're fantastic, great, they're the best team right now in the world, Travis. The problem is I look to Fnatic and I'll say that while Fnatic is a great looking team, there is a great semblance of regional familiarity when they go up against G2 in that matchup that you saw during the finals, that they were willing to play that style for G2 and go wild. But issue is for me is that what's the next team? I know people will be talking about Splice for good reason because they can make it through by being in Group B. But past that, that was just the wash in the final matchup. And then there's Schalke. And then who are we talking about? What team exists? Look, honestly, I'm just even watching LEC. This split has just been being able to watch the top two. I'll say three teams because Splice actually can generate interesting games, and then the rest has just been sad. So RNG, I think, has gone through a lot of troubles, but during the playoff run that they've had, at least in the earlier run, they were actually a team that really evolved in making their top laner look incredible. So I would say they have a really strong weak side on the top side of the map. Like, he understands his role fully. And then they'll just put a stranglehold on the bot side. And so this is where I'm actually wondering what Fnatic will do if they'll run their Garen Yuumi versus Uzi. I don't think that's going to be the case because of how much this bot side is going to be centered around Uzi, and he's just going to pick Vayne into that. It's like honestly just one of the best matchups for it. So I think it's going to be pretty tough overall. It's always going to be a coin flip to like basically make a call in that group, but I don't know. I think RNG actually will be able to win out stylistically.
Okay, I have a question for you.
What's up?
You said that all the LPL teams will make it out of groups, right?
Oh, were you wondering about FPX and their
no. I was gonna
blessing that they. Okay, go on.
No, I was going to ask you
to
tell me which make it out as first seed and which make it out as second seed.
Oh, okay. First seed, second seed. So first seed for sure for FPX, second seed for RNG because I think SKT is actually incredible at this point. Probably top two, certainly top two with.
Fnatic doesn't make it out of the group.
Yep, and then for the other one is I would say second seed only because, deep down my gut's telling me Damwon's going into that group. Deep down, it's telling me that
TL doesn't make it out of that group.
Be saved. Yeah, pretty much. But all of this is obviously like, projection.
Did you say Group D is getting saved?
No, B is getting saved.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
Group B becomes the group of life.
Yeah, Group B is probably the most insane group I've ever seen. That is actually just the most.
One of the callers brought it up, and I totally agree. If Splice ends up in Group B, that is probably the worst group we've ever seen.
Yeah, ever. I have never seen a group like that. And just to remind people, like Rift Rivals, LMS, and VCS combined 0 and 11. So the worst thing too, like for FPX, think of FPX being in this group, and it's actually just a lose-lose situation because you will probably look bad no matter how. Like people will always just like, why isn't it a 20-minute game? Why did you guys draw this one out to 30 or 40 minutes? Like what happened here? And so I actually think while FPX will get out of this group pretty easily, everyone will be heavily critical on what they should have done. So anyways, fun group. I know the hand of God will put Splice in that group and it'll just happen. You just have to accept it.
The darkest timeline.
It's just it's just what it is.
Raz, thanks for popping in. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Sponsors, shout out to
Alienware.
Jack in the Box, Alienware,
Movement,
to Nike. God bless Nike.
They don't sponsor the show. Movement.
They sponsor me. All right, take it easy, guys. And Movement. Have a nice one.
Have a good one. Whatever. Okay, let's get the next caller, and if it's Ovilee friendly, I think she's back from dinner. I don't know if she's in Discord, but she should join if she isn't. All right. If you guys enjoyed that Raz call, it was made possible by subs like you. You can sub right now for half off. Risen King subbed with Prime, MacD Shifty for 9 months, Presto for 5. OMG, you ate my cookie, 10. Drew the Impaler for 18. Boba Cola for 25 months, over the 2-year mark. Kylo Zen for 11. Mr. Chicken, I'm not going to say that. Boba Cola launched a new highlight series. Is it How Ellie 3? Howl
V3. Yeah.
Howl V3, the third version of Howl.
The third version.
All right. Well, welcome to the show, Hal. Where are you calling from?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, not too far. And what do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
My hot take is that CG is going to be the only NA team to get out of groups.
CG will be the okay. We can call Ovilee in for this. Is she in the Discord? I don't see her in the Discord.
I don't know. You let me know. I just read saw a headline for an article saying you should stop vaping right now.
Why are you reading articles?
It was a headline. I was on Twitter, and then I opened up the article to read it because I had a good clickbait. But they said stop vaping immediately. So if anyone's in this Twitch chat and they're vaping right now, you throw that thing out the window.
This hot take brought to you by vaping.
Okay, so CG will be the only team to make it out of groups from North America.
So Hal, I just have to ask, you're aware that they have to be in Group C?
No, they don't. If Splice doesn't make it out of play-ins.
Okay, fair enough. So this is a multi-part bet here.
Yeah.
Because it's starting with someone else loses, and then they go into Group B.
Yep. And I don't think Splice makes it out of play-ins.
Okay, interesting.
I want whatever this guy's smoking. Or no. I see what he's saying. He's saying that I think it's backwards. You think that Clutch is the only one who's going to get out of groups, but actually, it's Dignitas. Team Dignitas is going to rise from the ashes, make it out of groups, get all the way to finals, and go smack up some other team.
Exactly.
All right, I like it. I freaking like this. I think Clutch Gaming's going to make it out of play-ins, though. Clutch Gaming is going to make it into groups. Hooney's going to get put into that Group C with RNG and SKT, right? And then and Fnatic and just smack some people. He wants to freaking shit on SKT. I want to support that.
Holy moly! I want some of what Ovilee's smoking. That is not where my take was going.
I had a salad.
Why don't you think? I'm sorry, I had to get up to find my phone, which was actually next to me the entire time.
You didn't miss anything.
Why don't you think the other NA teams are not going to make it out?
So
why do you think the other NA teams aren't going to make it out?
So if Clutch gets placed into Group B, I think Damwon also makes it out of play-ins, which forces them into Group D. I think TL does not make it out over Invictus and Damwon. And then for Group A, I think Svenskeren is basically going to have to carry that team. I think jungle is probably going to be one of the most important roles for Worlds. And when you've got junglers like Griffin and Yankos, who are probably the best junglers in each of their regions, I just don't think it's going to happen for C9. I could see a tiebreaker happening with Griffin and C9, but I think Griffin takes it, and C9 ends up third, TL ends up third, and then Clutch gets the Group of Life, Group B, and gets out as the second seed.
Gotcha.
Tarzan, sorry, chat.
Yeah, it's okay. All these people in the chat love to criticize the callers, but they're all too cowardly to actually come on the show.
Well, came on. I'm criticizing the caller.
I'm not talking about you.
Aren't you agreeing with him?
I am, but that's because he actually had a decent point. I want to talk to all the other callers who were crazy.
Aren't you supposed to be Team Liquid's hype beast, and you're just saying that they're not going to make it out and it's going to be Clutch?
Team Liquid doesn't own me.
Okay, so you're Clutch's hype beast for this international event.
Right now, I'm Clutch's hype man.
But she is available for hire. If anyone would like to pay Ovilee to be your hype woman, she will pay. She will sign that contract. Anyway, all right, Mark.
Just based off the sheer number of things that need to happen, I'm gonna disagree. Yeah, I think this is a pretty safe one. Just be like, I don't think all those things are gonna happen because you have to get upset in the play-in stage for somebody, it probably has to be Splice, so theoretically it could be Damwon as well to open up Group C, or open up them to get out of Group C. Then they need to get seeded actually into Group B, and then you would need to have Team Liquid and C9 fail to do so, and Clutch actually be better than Gigabyte Marines, which, similar to how I was saying I'm not convinced Splice is actually better because I haven't watched their VODs yet, I would say the same thing about Clutch. I'm not convinced they're actually better than Gigabyte Marines. The same way I haven't watched them yet, to be honest. I think they should be better. I thought Splice should be better as well, but when Travis, pressed me on it, like, do you really think there's no, like, are we really crowding them out completely? I was like, well, you know what, you're right. I haven't watched them yet. So, yeah, I don't know. This feels like what is it called when in a bet you want to combo bet it? There's an actual term for it.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Where you're betting that there's gonna be, it's like a set or something.
Yeah,
parlay. Is it parlay?
It's something like parlay, but is it a parlay? Okay.
Yeah, I just remembered it's parlay.
Yeah, you read Twitch chat a little faster than I did. Good job.
Isn't that a pirate thing?
No, parlay is a form of discourse that the pirates called it, but that word existed before pirates. Which is also
before pirates.
Yeah, parlay was a peace discussion, surrender.
I need to Google the history of pirates.
I think you want to Google the history of parlay and find out.
I agree with that.
Were the first
she's like,
pirates
I can't find any of them saying it existed before in this pirate article.
Also, apparently, parlay is different than parley, which a parley is what pirates did, and a parlay is specifically a gambling thing.
Okay, I think it might be, yeah.
We're all learning something new today.
To be fair, it was late Middle English denoting speech or debate, perhaps from Old French parler, which was two E's, spoken.
I love that Mark earlier was like, hey, Travis, I can't go too long on this show because we can't go too late because I've got to drive to San Diego.
Time while I Google the etymology of parlay. It might have actually been a pirate word.
Wait, wait. Let's go back to it because I actually pulled up the freaking groups. So you don't think Liquid's going to make it out of Group D? Like what, you think Damwon's going to get slotted in there or what?
Yeah, I think Damwon and Invictus get out.
Fuck no.
Most likely because TL drops a game to AHQ somehow.
Okay, but are AHQ even good? Like, are they even good? No, they suck.
Has that been a requirement for TL to drop a game to them?
You know what? I don't know. You said what? Phoenix, Arizona. I'm gonna hop on a plane, fly over there, and smack you across your face. You're wrong.
Every time I can't have you on the show because you literally threaten all of our callers.
I think this call has run its course, Travis. We got two more guys.
No. I do want to say though. I think while we're on the Clutch call, have we talked at all? We haven't talked at all, and I don't know if they talked about it on the Group Draw show. Hooney facing off against his two former teams if he ends up in Group C.
But in this call, he's not going to Group C.
Yeah, but this is the Clutch call. Are we going to talk about it in a different call?
No.
Well, isn't that kind of cool? Can't we just recognize that really quickly here?
Well, no,
you're right. That's cool.
Well, that's what Hooney was freaking excited about when we did the post-game interview with him, and I'm like, "Who are you excited to play against? What are you excited to do?" He's like, "I want to make Coma so mad."
That's why I brought it up.
Cry. I want to make him so mad.
Mark has time to discuss the etymology of a word, but he doesn't have time to discuss like an interesting narrative that could occur with the team that we're talking about in this call.
I agreed it was cool. You needed more out of me for that?
I want to point out in the chat that the LCS baby that had the TL jersey on, the dad is in the chat right now and says that he lives in Phoenix and has a guest room that I could come stay in so I could smack this caller.
Boy.
We're going to move on to the next caller.
There's a number of
things
in that
sense.
Is
there anything that you want to say as we move on to... I'm just watching Twitch chat react. Anything you want to say?
I don't really have anything to follow up on what Ovilee just said, so we'll just end it there.
Yeah.
Thanks, sponsors. Thanks, Ovilee.
We're still friends. We're still friends. Don't worry about it.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
All right. We'll take the next caller and we'll see if it's safe for Ovilee. Ovilee, you have to stop threatening people.
Okay, I won't threaten people anymore. I'm just telling them that they're wrong.
It's Kyler. Thank you for the 5 months in a row. Moses for the win. 710.
I make Hotline League fun, exciting, spontaneous
Lamboa.
instead of just like.
Hang on, I'm just gonna.
Thank you
We're
for
gonna mute her really quickly. Lamboa Constrictor. Thank you for the tier 1. Okay, we can unmute her. Dak Jamkin, remind me where you're calling from, and welcome back to the show.
I've actually never been on before, but
you've just subbed for a really long time.
Yeah, I've been watching since State of the League, but I'm from Wrightsville, Pennsylvania.
Jesus, have we ever met at an event or something?
No, there hasn't been anything on the East Coast in a long time in the Northeast for me to go to. So.
Well, thank you for calling in, and thanks for supporting since State League. That's super far back. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So my take is kind of like 3 chained into 1. I think SKT1 is the strongest team in the world over G2. I think them and RNG are the 2 making out of Group C for sure. And the main reason for that is Whippo is not going to be able to keep up with Khan or Lang X. His champion pool is too limited, and Fnatic isn't going to play through him and let him play carries.
You're in agreement. I think Raz also said that Fnatic.
Yeah, Raz kind of took my point from my first ever call on here. So
no, it's okay. He does that. Ovilee, I'm going to give you a chance to say something before we say goodbye to you, because this isn't really a North America-centric call, but is there anything you want?
Give me 1 second. Yeah, SKT have massive holes, and they're not getting punished. I'm convinced they're going to get exploited at Worlds. I'm not bought into the hype.
You want to explain what you think those gaps are?
No, I'm just going to keep rereading this copy pasta.
Okay.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thanks, Ovilee.
Bye.
Okay, Jack Jamkin, do you want to, oh, I see, it's a Vedius copy pasta. He said that, I guess, on the show?
Yeah, and he just tweeted it a couple months ago.
Okay.
A month ago.
Okay, so Jack Jamkin, you're worried, you think Whippo's the liability for Fnatic?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he's probably the 5th best top laner in the world, but with the groups that the teams that he's going against, I think he's outclassed mainly because of his champion pool.
It's interesting. I haven't watched. I've been watching a little bit more LPL this year than previously, so I haven't watched as much. But people were telling me Khan was struggling a little bit in the regular season and stuff. Maybe he was the weak point for SKT.
I would agree with that, but I think SKT has Worlds form. They're going to get their Worlds buff, so.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, like, it's not like the Worlds buff that SKT has got in the past has made players, like, different than what they were. You know, their weaknesses were sometimes still their weaknesses, like the one that they lost in the finals. Peanut, I think, wasn't playing well. I think he was the jungler at the time. Faker had to, like, 1v9 that team to get to finals. Huni was hit or miss. He was okay, and their bot lane was a bit of a train wreck and almost cost them the Misfit series, right? Like, if I remember that tournament correctly, it isn't like their problems just went away because they were SKT. They won in spite of their problems. So I'm a little bit hesitant to say that, you know, my limited sample of Khan that I've seen. I mean, I think he is really good. Still, I think he's better than Whippo in general. But he also has had some problems. Now, maybe that means, you know, neither of them exploit each other. Maybe that means one of them gets exploited and the other doesn't. But I don't know if SKT wins through the top lane. They're really much better about bot lane and Faker. So, you know, even if, you know, it is a mismatch, I don't know if that's the mismatch they win through, or like that's still not like super conducive to their game plan from what I understand. So I'm not quite sure about that one. Same with RNG. Like, all these teams feel more bot centric than some of the other teams around in the tournament. So in that sense, you know, while I would agree that Whippo might not match up great against some of these people, you know, it doesn't feel like as big of a concern just given the styles. But I could be wrong.
No, I think that's a fair point, but I think because there's so much attention on bot lane that top lane could become an island, and Whippo could maybe get abused by the top laners that are mechanically better than him.
Sure. I mean, I can say, I mean, Khan was for a period of time the best top laner in Korea, and absolutely tore people apart. And he's still not bad. So, you know, I'm with you. I'm not sure it's like, oh, now Khan 1v9s because Whippo is that much worse. You know, I would still be more concerned about Teddy and some of the other things going on with SKT.
Hey, thanks so much, Dap Jamkin, for calling in.
Yeah.
We're in our final minutes, so we're going to move on to the next caller, the last caller. But is there anything you want to say before we move on?
Shout out to all the sponsors, and I just wanted to give you a recommendation for your host at the end. It's Fenron Jenkins' birthday, so maybe
I know.
send him
I
to
was
him.
planning on it.
All right. Have
I
a good
appreciate
night.
that, though. It's cool that you did that. Thanks so much for watching for so long, and I always really appreciate it. Yeah. Have a good one.
You too.
People are saying RNG's top laner is not that great. From my understanding, he's an upgrade over Let Me, from what people said, but he's still kind of put on less of the carry role. So once again, that's kind of what I was saying about the styles. Still not feeling like they're that top centric, but you never know.
Our last caller coming in. Oh, wait.
Top.
Wait,
again?
Mark.
Ah!
We have a quick ad break.
What's left?
Movement.
I thought we did. I'm spaced out.
We can never forget about Movement, an amazing brand. I just was talking to them earlier today. They're based out of LA, just like myself. They make amazing products like this watch. They've got some blue lens glasses over on their site. Do me a favor. Go to mvmt.com/Travis. That's mvmt.com/Travis. Movement.com/Travis. And check out their stuff. They've got some really fantastic stuff. 15% off your order if you use that link, which is also in the YouTube description. Let's see if my XSplit will load it, because it's been kind of iffy today. Yep, Peter's popping up below the screen for some reason. And now, oh, I love it whenever XSplit does this. But anyway, you can check out their site. They've got some really cool stuff going. You see this, want 10% off? Ignore that. Use the link. Get 15% off. It's gonna do you a lot of good. And do me a favor, check out their stuff. Just using the link, even, it helps me out. And you might be surprised by some of the stuff that you see. Sunglasses. They've got amazing sunglasses. They've got stuff for men and women. I wear their watch all the time. The one they sent me, I think they were gonna send some more stuff. I know Mark is getting some stuff soon too. Yeah, it's just really appreciative of their support. We were just talking to them about maybe doing something around Worlds. We'll see if we're able to pull something off. But either way, thank you so much to Movement. I'm going to put the link in the chat, movement.com/Travis, movement.com/Travis, and one third time, movement.com/Travis. That's mvmt.com/Travis.
Damn, that was like a radio read, dude.
I'm getting better.
Really? Because fuck radio reads.
Mark, you can't blast the ad right after we do the ad.
I'm not blasting the ad. I'm blasting radio ads that we are not. I didn't say anything about the ad. I was just saying, wow, that sounded like a radio ad.
Yeah, but you said fuck radio ads right after you said it sounded like a radio ad.
But it sounded like a radio ad. That was a radio ad, Travis, and I hate radio ads. I only made the comment, fuck radio ads, after you said, I'm getting better. And I'm saying, you can put a little bit in, but don't turn it into a radio ad, dude.
Didn't you and Ashley just celebrate an anniversary? And
No.
it's not even... Oh, really? Okay. I thought maybe it was her birthday or something. All I'm saying is, I'm surprised that woman has stayed with you for this long. She is a saint. Do you want to grab our last caller?
What does that have to do with anything? What are you going to do? Get a copy next time and start reading out a copy? Wow, when I got these, I became the coolest person in my building. And people love me now. I'm just saying, you know, I love when you're authentic, Travis. I love authentic.
Thank you to Lamboa Constrictor for the sub. Limitless Zero. Really appreciate it. You can sub right now for 50% off. Frag, what frag? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Monrovia, California.
Monrovia. Not too far away.
Yep.
What do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
Well, my hot take is that Damwon's actually going to win Worlds, but the softer thing is that they're going through play-ins, and last year we saw with play-ins how well teams actually did, like once they got into groups from there, and they're going to be in Group B or D. I think it doesn't really matter which group they're going to be in, that they're going to get out of those groups. Just overall, Canyon had a phenomenal split, and if you take out like even week 1 where they went 0-2, they were like 15-3 for the rest of the split, which would have given them the best record out of like any teams from the LCK.
Mark, do you? I know we've got very little time, so I don't know if you want to address this really quick.
I like it's interesting because we've never seen a Korean team in play-ins. I think in any tournament, let alone Worlds. I don't think they ever played an MSI play-in either.
Yeah, no.
And you said they haven't?
No, they. As far as I know, at least I've been watching since like season 3.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's really interesting because I'm also of the opinion that it seems to help. I know a lot of pro players themselves are kind of dread the extra time that they have to spend prepping and playing, and you're under more stress for a longer period of time. And it takes a larger mental fatigue, but it does seem like those teams do pretty well on stage. And so I'm interested to see what happens. I'm also a bit of a Damwon fanboy, so I like that for them. How far that brings them, though, is a bit of an issue. You can say that teams that come in have been buffed with C9 and the WE 1 year, G2 as well. But none of them have ever made the finals, unless I'm forgetting something.
No, they haven't. I think the main reason why it's going to happen with Damwon more so than like other teams is one, just the groups that they're going to be in. I think it's actually better if they get Group B for both them and Fun Plus. I feel like if Fun Plus gets a free group, it's going to hurt them in quarters, and if they versus an actual good team, it might be like a huge change of pace, even with like scrims still being a thing. Just like going on stage where they're actually finally versing a top 8 team, and the whole entire time before that they were playing against teams that were probably like bottom 16 or below. Like if they get Splice, like no offense to Splice, but I think that there's a huge gap between even Splice and Fnatic and G2.
I mean, I don't think very many people would debate that.
Yeah.
Splice is not on the G2 Fnatic level.
Yeah, I don't think that's true. And I think Damwon is probably closer to Griffin and SKT than a lot of the third seeds are from their other 1 and 2s from the region. I think China is also probably a little closer.
I'd rate Damwon over Griffin, as weird as that sounds. I feel like if they got to play a best of 5 in summer, I think they would have won. Personally, like just in general, Canyon I believe won MVP. Yeah, and like Showmaker was super good. I think Showmaker outside of playoffs was the best mid in LCK this like whole year, but Faker stepped up like crazy in playoffs, and Clit is insane and stepped up in playoffs too.
The Griffin versus Damwon point is an interesting one, and one that I've been struggling with personally. And I think I'm probably a little too hard on Griffin for their, quote unquote choking. Yes, they are playing in the finals every time, but the fact that they have never won a best of 5 in Korea, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think the bigger issue, well, at least since they qualified for LCK, I think the bigger issue was the games that they played against even SKT.
Yeah, they don't even look good, right? Like these series aren't even close when they lose them. Like they look like they boom. It's not like we went to 5 game series and battled them the whole way. It's like they look like a different team, and that's why I think I definitely put them down. I'm not quite sure I'm with you yet where Damwon is better, but I'm not too far off either.
Well, I think for one, Showmaker specifically kind of had a rougher series against SKT, but I think that was partially champion pool and how well Clid played, not as necessarily just Faker outclassed him. I think Faker did play better in that series, but just the duo of them played really well. And I think that's part of where play-ins will come into effect is like they're a young roster, never been to Worlds, they just got into LCK. Being able to probably stomp on these teams, hopefully, like at least from my point to be true, I would think that they would kind of shit on those teams in plans. Being able to do that would allow them to, one, get stage experience and get more comfortable on stage, so that way when they get to groups, they're more comfortable. But then on top of that, it can help them develop some synergy, which I think that they've already been developing all season, and they just look better. Like in the best of 5 against SKT, it was a little different. But if you look at even week 9, week 10, with the exception of the 1 week or the 1 series that they dropped, like I think they 2-0'd SKT in week 10, and SKT didn't look weak in that 2-0. They just looked really convincing. Damwon did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the Damwon hype train. You don't need to convince me that they're good. I just can't. I know that they beat SKT. You're just saying they beat SKT, but like I just can't see it happening because come set like if Damwon does get this kind of buff and they're as good as you and I think they are, then you know they're probably finishing first in Group D and maybe in Group B, but probably not. And then they're in second. It depends kind of on draw. So even if they are as good as you and I think, and they do well, I'm still looking at a top 8 or top 4 finish for them. I don't see them taking it because I really do think SKT is better. G2 is probably better in my book as well. And then
think that
OnePlus starts getting in there.
I think SKT peaked kind of in like LCK playoffs, as weird as it sounds. Just like some of the champions that are getting changed around, I feel like it really fit them. You got Faker back on mid assassins, and that's kind of what happened with Jensen and NA, where playing Akali, but Akali's not going to be nearly the same. It's the same thing that happened with Faker and Clid, where they got to play, the mid assassin duo.
I would agree if it was someone other than Faker, but I've seen him succeed on enough stuff. I'm not concerned. His Lulu, his Galio, his Oriana's, he's made game-winning plays on literally all those champions. At not even just like team fighting plays, laning plays, roaming plays. Like he's so well-rounded that I'm more concerned about the rest of the team regressing than Faker from anything. So I'm not quite with you there about it affecting him. I agree that like when he has more agency, the better. When he can play Kiana's and stuff, sure, but.
I don't think he's going to be worse. Like, don't get me wrong. I just don't think he's going to be able to have the same impact that he did in the LCK playoffs. And I think that Damwon just overall kind of, at least through the regular season, and I know that that's different, like the split versus playoffs, but during the split, they looked like, in my opinion, the best team outside of just week 1 when they, went 0-2.
Right, and to your point, they should be getting more experience through this play-in system that, they're in. So... they have some leveling up to do, which is nice for a new team like Damwon. I just don't believe they'll get all the way to finals, let alone win it. But when you see them in finals, you're going to be back on the show. Trust me.
For sure.
Frag, thanks so much for calling in. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, I wanted to say one more thing, not to create like a topic or anything.
Well, Mark has to drive to San Diego, so if it is a topic, but feel free to say something very quickly.
Oh, okay. I think Group A, Griffin versus G2 is going to be some of the most fun games I've ever seen.
Probably.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for calling in. All right, that is the show. A quick shout out to Sadistic Nero, Hook, and Shiny Froky for their subs. Mark, anything you want to say?
Nope. I'm going to be driving down to San Diego. I'll be driving up and back a little bit because I'm not doing anything on Thursday, so I might just fuck off. But other than that, I'm looking forward to TwitchCon a lot.
Thank you. And Mark and I are going to be at the Alienware booth on Friday. Stay tuned for more details. We will actually tweet about that. Neither one of us tweeted about the show today because we're terrible at our job.
Look how good we did, though.
But stay tuned for that. If you're going to TwitchCon, be sure to come by and say hi. And root for me in the TFT Rivals Open Bracket. I gotta make this work. Stick around if you're watching live. I need your help with something. It'll take 60 seconds. Love you all. That's the show.